Hey y'all, we're Josh and Rebecca Addair, and we are so proud to share our story with you. From being raised in a small coal mining town of Matewan, West Virginia, to moving to our dream home in East Tennessee.
When we first laid eyes on our 110-year-old farmhouse, our hearts were filled with nothing but pure joy. We knew right then that this place was going to be our sanctuary and a place for others to gather and experience true mountain hospitality.
We're true Appalachian folk who show our love with a good meal, laughter, a helping hand, and a prayer when needed. Our goal is to give you an authentic look into the Addair family and the wonderful craziness that is our blessed life.
So y'all come on in and make yourselves comfortable. We're glad to have you here, and we can't wait to share a little slice of mountain life with each of you. Welcome home, friends.
Hey y'all, so welcome to this episode of Addair's Farmhouse. You are with me today, and we're going to be in the kitchen. We were last week, and I feel like we made some awesome strawberry jam, which literally led me to thinking we need something to go with that strawberry jam. I am going at this one alone today, but this one's a little personal for me, so let me explain it to you. We got Rebecca behind the camera, so I'm technically not by myself, I guess. But, so about 3 years ago, I set out to I decided that I was going to be able to make homemade biscuits. I wanted to be able to do that. I feel like it's one of those things that growing up, everybody who I felt their home was a place of refuge and servitude could make some mean homemade biscuits, and I always associate those with just good Southern hospitality, Appalachian living, so I started about 3 years ago just trying to figure it out and learning on my own. We had a lot of rock hard biscuits for a while and figuring out what was right and what was wrong. And I feel like I was finally able to make or put together a recipe that was simple and robust and came out the way that I anticipated in my head. So I'm going to share that with you today in hopes that if it's something that you've wanted to do, because let me tell you, in that, I didn't know that it was a thing. I didn't know that there were so many people who also were like, you know what? I've always really wanted to be able to make homemade biscuits. So I didn't know it was a thing until I started as well. So I'm going to show you a very simple recipe. And once I got this down, I was making biscuits for everybody. So do this with your family one breakfast morning, and you'll see that it's so easy. So this is our ingredients for this. Very simple. The only thing you're going to need is some Crisco. Yes, just give me some good old lard, right? This is what you're going to need. You're going to need some buttermilk with some self-rising flour. And if you got one, a good old cast iron pan. You can't beat them. Okay? So the first thing that I'm going to do is we're going to head over to the oven, and I'm going to preheat my oven to 500 degrees. So while that is preheating, then I'm going to take my cast iron skillet, and with clean hands, I'm going to open up my Crisco here. And look, I ain't worrying about trying to use a utensil. None of that. I'm going to take my hands in here. I'm just going to get in here, and then I'm going to cover my whole dish with the whole inside. with Crisco. Real good. We're going to do this real good. Okay? Everything's nice and smooth. Be generous with it. It's all good. You know, one of the things I have learned about cooking in a Appalachian kitchen is that, like, I learned this when I was first learning to make pinto beans as well. I want to make them real complex, and I had like seasonings and all the things, and they came out, and I was so displeased with how they turned out because they didn't taste like what Mom made. They didn't taste like what I was used to growing up on and going to these people's houses and getting pinto beans. And someone said something to me. They said, think about the recipes that they grew up on. A lot of recipes that are based out of Appalachia come from people who they used what they had and they didn't try to overdo things. So what I did is I took a step back on my recipe. I made things very simple. Not a ton of seasoning, not a ton of stuff. And I just redone the whole dish in a way that was simple and things that people would have in their pantries and have to provide for large families. And they turned out exactly like I remember them. So you may think to yourself, well, you need more than this. You need to do more than that. You don't. Keep things simple, especially when you're doing, especially when you're reflecting tradition.
If you have a business and are looking for an interesting way to advertise, email us at adairsfarmhouse@gmail.com.
So now that I have my pan greased really well, I'm just going to take this and I'm going to put it in the oven while the oven's preheating to 500 and let this get all melted inside. So while that is preheating, I'm going to take my self-rising flour and please don't skip sifting your flour. For a long time, I couldn't figure out why they weren't turning out right. It had a lot to do with sifting the flour. So I've got my sifter here and I'm just going to sift through it into this bowl. Just a sip. Woo. Okay. You may say to yourself, Josh, how much are you going to sift? How much do you need? Well, I don't measure, but I'll show you how to do this. I learned this by eye. Doing measurements didn't work for me. I'm going to sift this entire bag into this bowl. Okay, so now come close because I want you to be able to see what I'm about to do. Now, as you can see, the flour is nice and powdery. I'm going to take this off. Nice and powdery. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the back side of my fist and I'm going to just make a weld right in the center of this flour. Not super deep. Just a nest, if you will. Okay, and then I'm going to take my Crisco. And you're going to want 3 about a chicken egg size. So, about a chicken egg size. I'm going to put 3 chicken egg sizes in my nest. 2, Now, I'm going to take my buttermilk. I should open this before I touch. And then I'm going to fill my nest with buttermilk. Okay. Now I'm gonna just take my hands and get in here. I'm gonna start rubbing these chicken eggs and soften them in this buttermilk. Sometimes stuff requires you to get your hands a little messy. That's all right. So now, as I do this, I'm slowly pulling flour off the bottom into this little well, little mixture here. And I'm getting a batter kind of starting to form, and we'll get a dough in a minute, but it really seems battered at the moment. And I'm just squeezing all of that lard, that Crisco, between my fingers. And as I need a little bit more flour, I'm gonna just take my thumb, push it over in there, and just keep working this. The big thing is when you're making biscuits, you don't want to overwork your dough. We're not at the dough stage yet, but it's cool how, and you'll see in just a minute, how when this starts to form, it'll start pulling away. And you see how I'm just kind of taking a little bit from the walls as there we go. And it literally will come to itself and pull away from that dry flour. Again, not really overworking. Now look, I got fresh flour still in here, and here's my dough. So I'm gonna pull this off this mat using my elbows. And I'm gonna take my other hand, the dry hand, grab some of this dry flour, get it all over give my surface some flour. Now I'm gonna just take this dough ball that I've created. Again, not overworking. And we're just gonna bring it right out. Here. Flatten it out. Little. We are officially preheated. Now I've got a piping hot pan here. Okay. Now I'm real fancy about how I cut my stuff here, okay? Just so you know. I'm gonna just dust in the top so it's not sticky. Okay, now I'm gonna take this. I don't have an actual biscuit cutter. I'm gonna do this. Oops. This. And bring this out. We're gonna put it right in. You hear that? That's what you want to hear. Wow. Great. Very. I'm gonna just take this dough. So apparently I didn't know this, but when I was a kid, I used to like to eat the raw dough. Alright, there we go. Here's our pan of biscuits. And typically what I would do is normally it'll come up around here, but I just warmed some of that Crisco up in the microwave, and I'm just going to brush the tops of these. What this is going to do is it's going to allow those to get nice and golden brown. Don't want to overdo it, but you do want them to have some colors. Now into the oven with these. So these will then go into this 500-degree oven for about 20 minutes. Then I'm going to take this opportunity while they're baking, clean up my mess. What I like to do typically is, now you've got this flour, and this can be your biscuit flour. And there are a little bit of bits in it, but mostly it's all dry flour. There's no wet, there's no nothing. So you can do this in a bowl that you've got a sealed lid, and just know that this is your biscuit flour. Seal it up. You can even write on it biscuit flour, whatever. I set it on the shelf, and then the next few days when I make biscuits, I'll just pull that down, do the exact same thing. Now, I would encourage you to sift it again, get all of those little dough pieces out. But yeah, you can just reuse it. Okay, so it's been about 20 minutes, and I'm going to go ahead and take these out of the oven.
If you would like to advertise your business during an episode of Addair's Farmhouse, feel free to email addairsfarmhouse@gmail.com.
Well, I brushed the top of these just with a little butter when they came out, and they're still hot. I'm going straight for this middle guy because I'm selfish like that. And look at that big biscuits. Woohoo! Big, thick. I'm going to look at the bottoms are nice and brown. So flaky. Some of that strawberry jam that we made last week. Just gonna try this. Mm. Good and fluffy. Crunchy bottom. Delicious. Keep the recipe simple. And I promise you, practice, and you can do this. All right. So that's this episode. Thank y'all so much for joining us. Hope you enjoyed it. Love y'all. We will see y'all next time.